If you are not getting detailed blood work done, preferably every 6 months, but at least every year, you may be leaving one of the most valuable biohacks and ways of gaining an insight into what's going on inside of our body and our biology and the health thereof on the table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out 5 or so very important markers and where you want to be on your blood test. And I'm going to share with you a way to get your next blood test 25% off. So the first is MCV, or mean cell volume. This has to do with the size of our cells. Generally speaking, when we are more inflamed or older, we see the volume of cells go up. An MCV that is pretty healthy would be in the low 80s, like an 83, 84. And when we start getting into the high 90s, 96, 97, that correlates with high levels of inflammation in the body and accelerated cellular aging. The second is vitamin D, specifically from sunlight. We can all boost our vitamin D by taking high amounts of supplemental vitamin D, but to really get the photonic energy that comes from the sun and all of the mitochondrial and thermoregulatory benefits thereof, you want to have your vitamin D between 50 and 70 or even higher, but getting it from sunlight rather than supplements. Now, if you can't get there because you're not willing to make the lifestyle changes, you're not in a position to for whatever reason, then you can use a high UVB tanning bed or in some cases supplementation in order to do so. The next is a marker for immune health, and this is your neutrophil to lymphocyte ratio. You want that to be about 1:1. So if that neutrophil to lymphocyte ratio is off, it could be a sign that your immune system is struggling, or at least in need of a little bit of help. ALT is, when it's elevated, it can be an early warning sign of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So we like to see our ALT under 24. And if it's too much higher than that, there are ways to take care of your liver via milk thistle, coffee enemas, etc. The last couple, high sensitivity C-reactive protein, or HSCRP. You want that under 0.5. For men, you want testosterone, definitely over 600, but preferably over 800 nanograms per deciliter. You want your free testosterone, which is also important, over 20 pg per ml. And you want your ferritin in that 60 to 80 range. Now, obviously, the testosterone and free testosterone doesn't apply to women, but just about all of the others do. And if you guys have not had blood work done in the past 6 months, the easiest way for you to do that and save 25% is by going to insidetracker.com/Anthony. We've set up an awesome 25% discount for you. That's at insidetracker.com/Anthony. I'm a big fan of their ultimate plan that comes with all of the bells and whistles. And what makes Inside Tracker really cool is they give you personalized recommendations for gut health, overall health, injury prevention and recovery, building endurance, lowering stress. And it's super simple. You basically, in a few steps, step 1, you purchase your Inside Tracker plan by going to insidetracker.com/Anthony. You get your blood draw. Then you get your results, and then you get your personalized recommendations, and you have it all in one place. You can track your improvements over time. And if at some point in the future you decide you want to work with someone like myself, you'll already have valuable data points that we can apply to give you even more personalized recommendations. So if you guys want to take advantage of that 25% off and get some of those insights into what's going on in your body and biology, go to insidetracker.com/Anthony, select their ultimate plan or any of the offerings at the insidetracker.com/Anthony website, and enjoy.
This is your life, and it's ending 1 minute at a time.
I was blind, but now I see.
Working jobs we hate, so we buy shit we don't need.
Ideas are grateful.
If you had one shot,
everything I'd ever read, heard, seen was now organized and available.
Now you fucking khakis.
Life moves pretty fast.
The Biohacking Secret Show.
Doug Evans, welcome to the Biohacking Secret Show.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Anthony. I've been looking forward to this all week.
Yeah, me too. You know, it's a little bit of exciting, coincidental, serendipitous timing, because when we're reaching out to guests and there's someone like you that I want to talk to, I kind of send a list to one of the people on our team and they reach out, and I never really know exactly when people are going to be scheduled. But just this week, I dove deep into sprouts, completely independent of this conversation. I'm making these sprouted smoothies, and I'm excited to kind of pick your brain and hear maybe some of the ways that I could make my superfood smoothies even more special and super.
Yeah, well, let's make no bones about it. I planted the seed, publicly in April, and it got you last week.
I think so.
Let's just be really clear.
Yes.
Like that's what happened.
Yes, I agree. Maybe, but before we kind of get into the nitty gritty and how our listeners can use sprouts and superfoods to make their life better, whether they're trying to heal or just achieve peak performance, share with us a little bit of your origin story and how you got into this.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up as a New York City juvenile delinquent, jumped out and just did crazy things as a teenager, joined the U.S. Army when I was 17 years old as a paratrooper in the 82nd Airborne. And then I hustled for the next 15 years, just working, just to make sure I wasn't in poverty, that I had some financial freedom and other things. And along the way, I got a little pudgy, right? I got a little pudgy and a little lethargic. And that was cool with me because I was still having a great time.
You were getting older.
I was getting older, right? And then I turned 33 and my aunt got diabetes. They chopped off her feet below her ankles. My uncle got heart disease and died. My other aunt got IBS and colitis and all sorts of things. And then she died. Then my other uncle died. And then my mother got stomach cancer and she died. Then my father got heart disease and died in the same hospital as my mother. And then my brother became obese, diabetic, atrial fibrillation, hypertension, and had the first of 3 strokes and a heart attack. So I was like, holy camole, we're genetically cursed, right? I better get my affairs in order because I'm not going to be living too long. And they say when the student is ready, the teacher will come. So I had this teacher come to me in the middle of the night, and she was plant-based. She was a vegan. I never heard the term vegan before. I thought it was vegetarian, short for vegetarian, vegan. And in a 2-week period, I went cold cucumber and went from eating cooked food, processed food, refined food, meat, dairy, animal products, street food, every bit of garbage, candy. I remember, because I thought I was rich, I would buy these big blocks of rock candy. And I loved the high I would get as I would sink my teeth into the rocks. And I almost bought my own cotton candy machine because I loved the sugar. And I didn't want to wait to go to a sporting event or a circus to get my cotton candy. I just loved refined sugar.
That's dedication.
Yeah, I'm over the top. And so once I heard about that, I went cold cucumber. And then all of a sudden I'm eating fresh, ripe, raw, organic fruits, vegetables, seeds, nuts, cold pressed juices, seaweeds, sprouts, drinking wheatgrass. And that was, believe it or not, 21 years ago.
Never looked back, huh?
Never looked back. I mean, I'm 54 years old and full throttle.
I notice even in a matter of days, if I'm eating more the way that you just described, the need for caffeine or that sort of stuff is just it falls by the wayside. You don't even notice that your body's just running better and cleaner, at least for me. What are some of the biggest objections you get from people when you describe your lifestyle? Too
I mean,
expensive. I don't have the time for that, you know?
I think they think I'm an alien,
Yeah.
right? It's so polarizing to the normal like way of living
Yeah.
that I've done a really good job of like toning it down.
Yeah.
Like
Don't do that. Don't do that on our account. The Biohacking Secrets Show listeners, we like extreme.
No, I'm my authentic self. But when I say tone it down, for 18 years, like, you know, in the back of my mind, you know, I would be saying cooked food is poison. Don't eat this. Don't do this. And telling other people, you know, what to eat, what not to eat. And, you know, when I decided to launch this sprout journey, right? And I had this like awakening, epiphany, and we'll get into that about sprouts. I then realized that I didn't care what other people ate or not, right? I wasn't going to tell them like, hey, you know, Anthony, don't smoke that cigarette. Don't eat that cheeseburger, you know, like, don't like that salmon that you think is good for you is laden with mercury and indigestible, you know, blah, blah. Like I gave all that up, right? And what I said was, it's pretty well known, still disputed because people will dispute anything, that vegetables are good for you, right? Do you think vegetables are good for you, Anthony?
I do. Yes.
Okay. So vegetables are good for you and sprouts are a vegetable. So if vegetables are good for you, sprouts are a vegetable, what I wanted to do is make it easy and accessible for everyone to have their own vegetable garden. And the notion and kind of consciousness of gardening was you needed soil, you needed land, you needed sunshine, you needed sprinklers, you're on your knees, you're blah, blah, that whole story. And when I moved to the desert, and I moved to the Mojave Desert, I moved to a little hot springs oasis called Wonder Valley Hot Springs by appointment. You could book a room or book a soak in the hot springs, right? So when I moved here, I realized not only am I in the desert, I'm in a food desert. And I wasn't going to be driving 3 hours each way to get to civilization or 3 hours round trip to get to civilization, to get to a health food store or to get to a vegan restaurant. So I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to eat? And normally if you grow food, it takes weeks or months or years to grow your own food. And I was like, I'm hungry now. I'm hungry now. And it's like, boom, the lightning bolt hit. It like went right in, polarizing. It was like a hallelujah moment for me that I was like, I could grow my own sprouts. And within literally days, not weeks, months, or years, days, using mason jars, cheesecloth, and seeds, and adding water, hallelujah, I was growing my own food. And within 1 month, in 1 cubic foot, I was growing and eating most of my own calories were sprouts.
Wow.
So that was like this mind turner. Like all of a sudden, like I'm eating sprouts, I'm high energy, I'm sovereign, I'm independent, I'm autonomous. And then the question was, am I missing something, right? Am I overlooking some micronutrient, some polyphenol, some prebiotic? Like, am I missing something? So I got on the phone, and in my 21-year health journey, I met a lot of people: Mark Hyman, Dean Ornish, Dr. Oz, Joe Mercola, Joel Kahn, nutritionists. And I'm calling every one of them up and talking to them about sprouts. And some of these guys, as you know, Mark Hyman, functional medicine, Dr. Josh Axe, keto diet, Dean Ornish, and Joel Kahn, plant-based. And what they all had in common, they all loved sprouts.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I couldn't get enough. Like, I was like, if you all love sprouts, how come you're not like out there beating your chest, telling the whole world eat sprouts? Mm-hmm. And like, well, we talk about it, but like, this is my thing. This is my thing. So that's when I had like the vision that I was going to write the book on sprouts. Like I was going to write the sprout book.
And I've got a copy of that en route as we speak.
Well, prior to writing that book, I had never written anything other than an email, right? I never went to college. I wrote emails and texts. And here I was taking on the challenge of my life, writing 60,000 words, 288 pages, with one of the largest publishers in the world, because I wanted to make sure that the book had the global distribution, that this book got out there, because if I felt like I was sleeping under a rock, then most of the world was sleeping under a rock. Because I've been around the world and you see sprouts in certain Asian cuisines, right? And you see alfalfa sprouts in health food stores and on sandwiches. And there was a little cameo in Woody Allen's Annie Hall where, he's mocking hippy dippy trippies with alfalfa sprouts. But otherwise, sprouts are virtually invisible.
So mason jars, cheesecloth, and seeds, just add water.
Yeah. So
simple. Stuff that you could get, if you don't have any of those things, you can order them right away. I did a little bit of sprouting, and back when I was living in a Chicago high rise. It can be done anywhere. It's not something that takes up a lot of space. But let's talk a little bit about why you love sprouts so much. And then I'm kind of curious, with all of your wisdom, what sprouts stand out above the rest, for people that have limited space, time, money, etc.
Yeah. The main reason I love sprouts, right, are, to me, sprouts are vegetables. Vegetables are good for you, right? The second thing are sprouts are very fast growing, like incredibly fast growing. They're incredibly affordable, right? Like I buy my sprouts in 35 pound buckets. I'm going to ask my lovely wife, wifey, Siobhan, could you bring me a bucket? So I buy them in bulk.
And where do you buy them from?
I buy them from Sprout Man or True Leaf Market, but just look at this. Look at bigger than my head, right?
Huge.
Like 35 pound bucket.
Handy pantry seeds and grain bucket.
and there's organic sprouting seeds. Thank you so much. And the sprouts are living plant organisms in a dormant state.
Right.
So it's like the history of the universe in one tiny seed. Right. And the seed may look like a pebble. If you drop it, it will bounce. And you do a little energy work on it, like by adding water to it.
Yeah.
And this bad boy will begin to germinate. And let's just take lentils for a second, right? If you ate a raw lentil, you would crack your tooth, right? You just put a lentil in your mouth, you crack your tooth. If you cook it, lentils are super nutritious. They're a staple of the diets around the world. When you sprout the lentil, in 36 hours, you're doubling the antioxidant levels of that lentil. You're tripling the vitamin C, and you are quadrupling the volume of food that you're getting. So think about that, something as simple as a lentil, not to mention when you're sprouting the lentil, you're taking the lentil and going through a biological transformation, the equivalent of taking a caterpillar turning into a butterfly, that this lentil will actually turn into a vegetable and grow and will grow leaves. And you're able to do this without soil, without sunshine, without fertilizer. So if you think about food sovereignty and you think about the health of yourself and feeding yourself, the ability to grow your own organic vegetables in a tight like amount of square footage, there's no excuses. Like everybody can be growing sprouts anywhere. And so number one, why am I like enthusiastic about sprouts? Number one, sprouts are a food. Okay. Number two, sprouts are vitamins, minerals, and nutrients, right? So instead of taking a synthetic multivitamin or a protein powder or some extracted things, you can grow your own vitamins. So you need more folate, you can grow vitamins. You want omega-3s, you could sprout chia and flax. You want vitamin C, it's in every sprout. You want soluble, insoluble fiber. You want prebiotics, probiotics, antioxidants. They're all in the sprouts. Every single benefit of whole food, plant-based diet and vegetables exists in sprouts. Now, the third thing, and I'm going to preface this because it makes me sound like I'm full of it, okay? So the third thing, and I'm going to preface this, that do your own research, okay? My research led to number 3 is sprouts are medicine. That sprouts, whether it's the broccoli sprouts and becoming the precursor to sulforaphane because they contain glucoraphanin and myrosinase, and that there's now over 1,000 research papers published in top journals about how they're testing how broccoli sprouts will kill cancer cells, how they're treating autism with broccoli sprouts because they create the heat shock proteins in people with autism, or just in a general level. And this isn't sprout specific. This is kind of plant-based medicine, plant-based diet, whole food plant-based. If you have diabetes or obesity and you're eating whole food plant-based without salt, oil, and sugar, you can regulate your insulin levels. You can lose weight because you're getting more fiber, less calories, less processed food. Well, that can be achieved through sprouts.
Did I hear you say that there's a lot there to unpack, but that broccoli sprouts have an effect on heat shock proteins?
Absolutely. The sulforaphane creates heat shock proteins that reduce symptoms of autism.
Wow, interesting.
You can look. I did an interview on my Instagram, Doug Evans, with Dr. Jed Fahey, who is the lead researcher at Johns Hopkins University, on broccoli sprouts.
Yeah, fascinating. Okay, so you get these 35-pound buckets. You mentioned Sprout Man, and then you said True something?
True Leaf Market.
True Leaf Market. Let's say our listeners right now, they're loving what you're sharing. Step 1, they go to Amazon, they pick up a copy of the Sprout book. Yeah. Step 2, they want to take some action and have the materials ready so they can hit the ground running when the book arrives. What do? They go on Sprout Man, they go on True Leaf Market, they pick up what sprouts, yeah. What materials?
Well, look, I think the core ingredients, and would you please hand me the lentil jar, please? So the key things are, I have a chapter in my book called Junkyard Dog, about basically taking other people's junk, right? Or your own junk or your own waste. And this is out of control. This is a 1-gallon glass jar that restaurants normally throw out. Like they may get pickles in it or roasted peppers, but they throw these things out. You get a rubber band and some organic cheesecloth. Check this out. This was 2 cups of lentils, and it filled up 8.5 cups in a whole gallon jar. So
amazing. A giant 1-gallon glass jars filled from top to bottom with these sprouted lentils.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you could take the sprouted lentils. I'm going to give you guys a recipe that's not even in my book. You take the sprouted lentils, you take some tahini, and I use the Artisana tahini I buy in 17-pound buckets of raw tahini, right? For $100, right? Yeah. So you're getting it for like $3 a pound as opposed to getting a little jar for $17, right? And then you get zucchini, fresh zucchini. So you take fresh zucchini, you take the sprouted lentils, and you take tahini, and you make a dip, and you could just put anything in it: peppers, bell peppers, celery, cucumber, romaine lettuce, baby things. Just put everything on it, and you're getting this super nutritious. And you could replace the sprouted lentils with sprouted garbanzo beans, with sprouted green peas, basically all of those. And this is mind-boggling. And I know you know a hell of a lot about nutrition and biohacking. 1 cup of garbanzo beans, sprouted, 380 calories. Think about that caloric density, and 36 grams of protein. Like in a cup of sprouted garbanzo beans.
Yeah.
So you eat those, you feel full and you feel light simultaneously.
And much more digestible than the way that people traditionally eat beans or legumes. Am I right?
100%. Because in the sprouting process, you reduce the phytic acid, you eliminate and reduce the enzyme inhibitors, which are keeping it in that dormant state, and you're unleashing that life force. This is alchemy that's going on, right? And that's where I felt like, whoa, everybody needs to wake up to sprouting. Like, this is the future of food, is sprouting. And it's talk about Back to the Future. There would be no life on this planet as we know it if there wasn't sprouting, period. Except sprouting was used for thousands of years to take these seeds, sprout them, plant them, grow into mature vegetables. But I don't have the time, I don't have the place to grow a complete organic garden, but I do have water, and I have sprouting seeds, and I've got cheesecloth, I've got unbleached paper towels, I've got mason jars, I've got empty pasta jars, I've got spray misters like from Home Depot, and all of a sudden I'm able to grow a complete balanced diet, right? I'm going to repeat that one more time. A complete balanced diet that's sprout-centric.
Here's why friends don't let friends vaccinate. Fear does not stop death. It stops life. And worrying does not take away tomorrow's troubles. It takes away today's peace. The COVID, quote-unquote, vaccine is not a vaccine. They've said it will take multiple doses, and even then require continuous reinjection. That's a drug, not a vaccine. Add to that, this is the first ever mRNA vaccine, which, contrary to the propaganda websites and news outlets out there debunking the real risks, has the potential to change our genetic makeup, perhaps even making a legal case that humans who have received the vaccine have now been genetically modified, almost like a GMO. Let that sink in for a moment. And then you take into consideration the fact that multiple countries are showing dozens of adverse effects. Hank Aaron, the Major League Baseball star, died just within a week of getting the COVID vaccine. And there are many more cases, far too many to even name here. This is part of the reason that many of us have decided to be the change that we want to see in the world. And we are forming a regenerative, community-sufficient tribe living in harmony with nature. in Western North Carolina. Here's a little bit of the community guidelines and manifesto for those of you guys that may be interested. It's going to be off-grid power. So each home is going to have their own power, either through propane, solar, hydroelectric, wood stoves, or some combination thereof. There's going to be no Wi-Fi or wireless electricity, but we will have wired internet connections that are faster and healthier. Each parcel of land on the property, each home site is going to have spring water for drinking, bathing, and gardening. We have a regenerative philosophy that we're bringing. So if, for example, we need to cut down 5 trees to put in a road, we're going to plant 10. We believe that we are divine creators in the image of God, and that the laws of God belong above the laws of man. We're going to encourage gardening, growing some or all of your own food. Many people don't realize this, but a family of 4 can be fed on just a quarter acre. We're going to be connected to our local law enforcement, particularly the local sheriff. We're going to be attending meetings and lobbying for laws that uphold the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, our freedom, and the health and sustainability, I know that's a buzzword, of Mother Nature. We're going to focus on the good, the true, and the beautiful. Our currency is going to be trading of goods and services, possibly silver, possibly gold, but not relying on, paper money that's not backed by anything and certainly headed for a crash, or the cryptocurrency, which is part of, this sort of slavery system that they're kind of trying to usher the unsuspecting into. We believe our greatest assets are our community, our character, and our health. Family is wealth. No mask, no vax. There's going to be community homeschooling. It's critical that we teach our children as they are our future. So we're going to be big on practicing critical thinking, challenging convention, seeking wisdom, not information. There's going to be no usury, so no charging interest on any loaned money. And all of us are going to be looking to add value, leaving everyone in our community better than we found them. If you're interested in learning more about how you could possibly be a part of this community, you can go to biohackercoaching.com. I want to be forthright and respect your time. The minimum investment is a $25K donation that guarantees a quarter acre plot of land. $75K guarantees a full acre of land, and $195K guarantees 3 acres of land. And our community is a beautiful mix of entrepreneurs, healers, yogis, health professionals, families, and individuals who value freedom, connection, and living in harmony with Mother Earth. This sounds funny, but after 2020, you got to say it. All religions except for Satanism and Luciferianism are valued and welcome. So it doesn't matter if you're Muslim, Christian, Jewish, as long as God's at the top. That's all that matters. So yeah, you can learn more about that and grab a time for us to talk at biohackercoaching.com. Just please make sure that you're financially qualified. And if you would like to request, after you've filled out your application, if you'd like to request that it is moved to the front of the line, you can text community VIP to 847-989-3743. A couple quick questions. What percentage of your diet would you say is like raw and plant-based?
My diet today is 100% raw and plant-based.
100% raw and plant-based. And we're not talking about like pseudo foods and like
no.
gluten-free fake pizzas or something. You're talking about plants with their life force in them.
Oh yeah. I eat fruits, vegetables, seeds, nuts, seaweeds, fermented vegetables like our own homemade sauerkrauts, seaweeds, and sprouts.
So healthier than just about anyone who's listening to this podcast right now. I'm not just knowing what we know many people eat. What would you estimate you spend on food, groceries, anything that's, on like a monthly basis?
$150.
So you're eating 100% raw and plant-based for $150 a month.
Yeah. I mean, I on a expensive month, maybe $200.
And then, okay, so the cost objection just went out the window. And then, but yeah, there's probably a ton of upfront costs. I know you mentioned your junkyard dog story. What would someone need to put in to get to a place where they could be eating for $150, $200 a month?
I mean, if someone were to buy like the big 35-pound bucket of the protein sprouts, those are about $125 delivered. Right. And that 35 pounds will literally yield, well over 100 pounds of food. Right. So if you think about 100 pounds of food, how many pounds you need to eat per day of food. Right. So the math, and you could do the calculus on your own. So to me, the money, like the more money comes in when I start, and even now I buy the 200 pack of organic seaweeds, the organic nori, and I get 200 sheets of nori, I think for $70, right? So it's like 33 cents a sheet. And so
where are you getting those from?
I'm buying those on Amazon.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah. I mean, I used to buy the nori in a 10 pack, and then I bought the 50 pack, and now I buy the 200 pack. And it's just great. And
what do you do with the nori?
I mean, I did a post like last week where I take the nori, I lay it out, I smush an avocado on it, and then whatever sprouts are handy, like I just put, 2 handfuls of the sprouts and I roll into a wrap and then just eat it.
Nice. All right. Easy. I feel like it's not intimidating. It's not overwhelming. It's economical. I think about my cousin who has 3 kids. She's a single mom. And like, I'd sort of justified in my head that some of the reason they didn't eat so well was because of cost. And like, you just kind of blew that out the window. I know they're spending a lot more than that.
It's kind of like IKEA, right? If you think about IKEA, before there was IKEA, right, which is before our time, right? Like, I don't know how old you are. If you wanted furniture, you went to the furniture store, you picked out some furniture, maybe they had a floor model, but most likely, furniture was custom made for you, pre-ordered, and took weeks or months, and then it eventually came, and you paid a lot of money for it. Yeah. And maybe if you were, a Quaker, or something, you made your own furniture, but it was a disaster. Right? IKEA came along and said, hey, we're going to have world-class Swiss design, right? Swedish design. Thank you. My wife just corrected me. Swedish design, right? You'll have world-class Swedish design, but you're going to have to, have some skin in the game. You're going to have to come pick it up, and then you're going to have to put it together. But then you're going to get something faster and better and cheaper than the old way. Right. And that's the way I kind of look at sprouting. You order the seeds, you order the jars, you get the things, and, all of a sudden you're set up, and then you get momentum, and it's like snowballing. And you talk about your, a woman single mother with 3 kids. Kids, like, look on my Instagram. I posted back to back 8-year-old kids, sprouting, knowing more about the science. Like this girl, 8-year-old girl, was doing a science project, and she was stressing the sprouts under various thermatic temperature conditions to see whether they affected the growth.
Wow.
8-year-old.
Yeah.
8 years old. So I think that get the kids involved.
Yeah.
Get the kids involved early on sprouting, and sit with them and talk to them like they're adults.
I'm kind of excited to do it. I feel like it is a little bit of a science fair type experiment.
Well, what did you learn in your deep dive about sprouting last week?
I didn't even do too much of a deep dive. I was reading a book on the 12 steps to a raw diet. and it got me kind of excited about having more raw stuff in my day to day. And just for practicality purposes, I ran to Whole Foods and I bought a bunch of kale sprouts, sunflower sprouts, broccoli sprouts, and then some different mixes so I could start hucking them into my smoothies.
Yeah.
And, I had a huge sprout salad today. It just seemed like that was one of the more practical ways to really pack nutrient density and some of these benefits of certain raw nutritional powerhouses into my day, but I didn't get too deep into the science of it.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think the science is very, very powerful. And I think there's been, a lot of research starting to come out in the last 24, 36 months of sprouts.
Yeah.
And, my mission is really to be like the match to lighter fluid. Like I want to light this baby up.
Yeah. So for people that are feeling as fired up as I am and you are about sprouts, and they're like, okay, how do I sprout? What do I do? Where do I start? Tell me what to do. What do you say, Doug?
I say, buy my book.
The Sprout book on Amazon.
The Sprout book on Amazon, or tell your local bookseller to order it. It's available everywhere. Start watching some of the videos and information that I've been posting on Instagram.
At Doug Evans, DOUGEVANS.
Yeah, very simple there. I'd say find some large glass jars, right? The 64-ounce mason jars, the ball mason jars. There's something, I did a Instagram live with Dr. Bill Weishevitz, the gut health MD who wrote Fiber Fueled. And we listed in the comments on his post and my post of our Instagram live that just went through the roof. I mean, the engagement was incredible. But we posted all the resources right there. So like you could copy them right off of there and repost them.
Nice.
in the spirit of transparency.
Yeah.
And sprout. And then I would say that the seeds, you can, if you're sprouting for food, the lentils and legumes are like easy to start. If you're sprouting for nutrition, like you want to get a variety, like chia and flax are amazing source of medium chain fatty acids, omega-3s, right? And when you're sprouting the chia, you also get chlorophyll, you get fiber, soluble, insoluble fiber, you get the protein. So you get all the benefits of this superfood chia, and you get it in a living form vegetable format. So I love sprouting chia. Broccoli sprouts, part of the cruciferous family of vegetables. Like I was doing an interview with Rip Esselstyn, right, ex-firefighter, and research came out that broccoli sprouts and sulforaphane detoxify pollutants from the lungs. So you're actually able to excrete the benzene from the lungs through broccoli sprouts because of sulforaphane. So I would do broccoli sprouts, I would do lentils, I would do chia, and like that's a great place to start. And more and more work, but I cover like everything from A to Z in my book, from azuki and arugula to clover, radish, celery, broccoli, all the different kinds of lentils and peas, radishes, like so many things are sproutable. And this is not some exotic superfood that has to be flown in from Peru or Ecuador or Chile. Like this is stuff that we're familiar with that's abundant and ubiquitous and accessible.
And sustainable.
I mean, like just take it, if you think about the sustainability, and I'm careful not to go down too many rat holes, right? But depending on who you ask, it takes 5,000 gallons of water to grow a pound of beef, right? Because you got to feed the cow over these years and grow the grain and feed the cow.
Yeah.
It takes, so 5,000 gallons for a pound of beef. maybe 50 gallons for a pound of broccoli, 5 gallons for a pound of broccoli sprouts of water. So just think about that, like use of resources.
And what do? So you get these broccoli sprouts. They come in this, let's say, a 35-pound bucket.
Yeah.
And you take them, you put them in one of these glass jars. You just cover them in water.
You basically, you take the jar. You'd put 2 tablespoons of seeds in the jar.
Yeah.
Savan, can I have the please. So I'm going to show you broccoli, the day 2 and the day 7. No, the day 2. So this is 2 tablespoons of broccoli sprouts on day 2. Okay. Put them in the jar. First, you soak them like this. Then you shake off the extra water. And then, you put them in an angle so the extra water comes out. But you always want to make sure there's air able to go through. This is day 2.
Okay.
And this is day 5.
So this is just like a Now brand sprouting jar. And Now Foods with a stainless steel screen and lid. Yeah. And this is day 5. It looks like a jungle in there.
Yeah, day 5 from day 2.
Yeah.
Like, come on. And this is food. This is food. This is medicine. This is nutrition. Like, get on it.
How many of those do you have going at any one time?
I guess right now I've got 5 going.
5 of those jars. Okay. All right. So that's not too excessive on like the countertop space. And is that enough food for you?
I mean, you smash an avocado on it, eat a slice of nori, have a piece of fruit. And look, I think, we don't have an issue of like starvation in this country, right? We have an issue of obesity.
Yeah.
Right. And I eat when I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Like I eat when I'm hungry. But I'll tell you that it's really hard to overeat sprouts because when you're eating sprouts that are non-seasoned, like you will eat them. And when the brain registers satiation from being full and nutrition, you're not going to overeat. But if you were to put salt on these, sugar on these, oil on these,
fry them.
Fry them. It's funny.
Love it. Well, guys, pick up the Sprout book on Amazon. Check out Doug's Instagram channel at Doug Evans. Doug,
my website is thesproutbook.com.
Thesproutbook.com.
Yeah, sign up for my newsletter. I'll be pushing out some sprouting information.
Nice. And we're going to grab those resources you mentioned for the people, and we'll put that in the description of the episode. Anything else that you feel compelled to share or talk about right now? Yeah, look, I think that I really believe in free will. Yeah. And I believe in doing your homework. Yeah. Right. So this is what's working for me. This is what's exciting for me. And I think the implications of this are really, really powerful. It's, to me, what's mind-boggling is that everyone in the world isn't already tuned in to Sprout Consciousness. Yeah. And I think that, the pandemic, they're making ties right now into the number of COVID cases as they're analyzing the stool by looking at the microbiome, right? And they're making the gut microbiome connections. Yeah. That the more people that are sprouting, the more questions that are going to be asked, the more research that's going to be done. And like the easy thing for me to say is like sprouts are vegetables. So if you believe in whole food, plant-based diet, you believe in the power of vegetables, sprouts are easy. Mm-hmm. If you're already tuned in, like you're looking at how can you become more raw, more living foods, sprouts are living foods. So they fit that checkbox. Super high nutrient density too. Yes, super high nutrient density. High digestibility. So, bioavailability. So sprouts contain micronutrients, phytonutrients, polyphenols, bioflavonoids, prebiotics, probiotics. Every single amino acid, exists in the sprouts. Mm-hmm. So
there's an amazing kind of world that to dig into about sprouts, and they're fun, they're fast, they're easy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, I don't want to feel like I need to sell anybody sprouts. Like, I think the sprouts are going to be here long after us. And I will say that 2021 is the year of sprouts, right? In April 2021, when my book came out, sprouts were trending above juicing, above blending. Sprouts were trending. And my little paperback book from an unknown author is now in the 6th printing, right? And we just launched the Audible version of the book with a downloadable PDF. That this is the year of sprouting. Like, we're just starting to sprout, and I hope that it continues, and I feel it will.
Well, Doug, thank you so much for sharing your time and knowledge and wisdom. This has been a really fun conversation. I'm going to go pick up some of those sprouting jars and get back into it. Appreciate you so much, guys. Pick up a copy of the Sprout Book. Go to thesproutbook.com and follow Doug on at Doug Evans Instagram. Doug, thank you so much.
Hey, my pleasure, Anthony. Take care, buddy.
Take care. Hey guys, Anthony here, and I just wanted to give you a big biohack thank you for listening. I'm so humbled and grateful that you're spending some of your day with me and the Biohacking Secrets Show. And if you get any value from this episode, or you've gotten value from previous episodes, it would mean the world if you could leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and share this episode with your friends, family members, and coworkers on social media. That way we can continue to spread this information and positively impact as many lives as possible. And it's also how our podcast gets discovered by more people. So without further ado, please enjoy this episode of the Biohacking Secrets Show.